How many CCs should your first street motorcycle have? What I have learned riding countless motorcycles over 15 years is that more than the CCs, which is everyone's favorite way of measuring the size of your engine, what matters more is this, and this. So instead of preaching the one perfect engine size, let me show you how motorcycles with different engines compare so you can make an informed decision yourself. And if you're a tall or a big guy and thinking, what this little guy knows about motorcycles doesn't apply to me, you're half right. Bear with me and I'll tell you why you're half wrong. Either way, I'm riding over to a friend an hour away to start this comparison with the most popular motorcycle in the 300 to 400cc segment, the Ninja 400, that has a 399cc parallel twin engine that makes 44 horsepower and 28 foot-pounds of torque. And let me show you how that accelerates. That 0 to 60 time on a 400cc motorcycle in the hands of an average rider is faster than most passenger sedans. Not all of them, but most of them. If the same rider tried to go from 60 to a dead stop, here's how that'll go. Now if you're wondering if it'll do 100 miles an hour, yes it will. But that would be illegal on public roads, so I couldn't demonstrate that. But if I did, it would take 3 gear shifts and about 14 seconds before I got there. For most people, it is a pretty comfortable sport bike that weighs 370 pounds with a 31-inch seat that is not too tall even for me at 5'8". To summarize this segment, 300 to 400cc motorcycles are lightweight, acceleration is predictable, most manufacturers use the same engine to make a sport, a naked, and an adventure touring version of the same bike. The cost of buying one is obviously lower than bigger segments, and so is the cost of ownership because of better fuel efficiency, cheaper parts, and simpler equipment. If you're wondering if you would get bored of a small displacement bike easily, I will address that question in the next segment. But for the tall and the big future riders among you, a 3 to 400cc may feel a bit small or even underpowered on the highway, and that is where you're half right. But where you're half wrong is that if you haven't ridden a dirt bike or even a scooter before and this is your first motorcycle that you're going to ride ever, how cool you look on the bike is less important than how silly you will feel if you got off the bike because you ran out of skill. Having said that, there is a class of motorcycles that will address the concern for the bigger and taller riders and also the ones who do have some dirt bike riding experience. Presenting to you the most powerful and expensive motorcycle in the 650 to 700cc segment, the Aprilia Tuono 660. It is in the same displacement segment as the MT-07, the SV650, and many more that I have compared in a video before. Let me show you how this 659cc 95 horsepower parallel twin engine performs in the real world. That 0 to 60 was obviously faster than the Ninja, and this is how fast it'll go from 60 to 0. How quickly can it go to 100, you might ask? You just have to take my word for it because I'm not getting in trouble today. Some say it can do 140 miles an hour and I believe them. It does weigh about 33 pounds more than the Ninja 400, but in the 650 class, it is the lightest. The seat height is 2 inches taller than the Ninja 400, so taller riders would find it more comfortable. But for short riders like me, there are 3 options. Option 1, learn to balance the bike on one foot like I'm doing here. Or option 2, get lowering links and have the bike lowered. Or option 3, get a whole different kind of motorcycle that I will talk about in a few minutes. As demonstrated, motorcycles in this segment have more power, go faster than a 400, and have more torque so they can carry more weight with ease, which means they would work better for heavier riders trying to get into motorcycles. The seat height is usually comparable to the 3 to 400cc counterparts, but they do tend to weigh and cost a little more. Manufacturers also make different styled motorcycles using the same engine. The adventure tourer variants tend to be taller and a lot more comfortable for taller riders. The maintenance cost is a bit more and they do have worse fuel efficiency efficiency than 300s. But for those of you concerned about getting bored too quickly of a 3 to 400cc motorcycle, this segment of motorcycles may address that concern. Although in my experience, no matter which motorcycle I got and how much I loved it at the time of purchase, I always ended up selling it in 2 to 3 years and getting something else that I liked more at the time. Anyway, so far we have covered a sport bike and a standard naked, and it seems like more CCs equal more acceleration and more comfort, right? Wrong. Presenting to you my own 2019 ZXXR, which is a dedicated track bike because I'm a big fan of 600cc Supersport class. It is the most powerful one in the 600cc Supersport segment, but compared to the previous 3 motorcycles, it is the most uncomfortable motorcycle for street riding because it is not designed to ride like this. It is designed to ride like this. And when your knee is on the asphalt, you don't want too much power. So the 600cc Supersports use inline 4 engines that make most of their power in higher revs. So up until 6 to 8,000 RPMs, they only make as much power as a 400 or even a 650cc. So technically, as a beginner rider, you could totally ride this as your first street motorcycle, as long as you can promise to never ever go over 7,000 RPMs. Question is, can you keep that promise? I know you're curious about the acceleration. My bike is not street legal, so I borrowed a friend's GSXR 600, which also happens to have some pink shark power. The engine is 50 to 90cc smaller than a typical 650 to 700cc motorcycle, but makes about 30 more horsepower than most of them. Here's the acceleration. That's 0 to 60 in first gear in 3 seconds and change. And I know that was a floppy launch. It could go to 100 miles an hour in 6 seconds or less in the hands of a good rider. Going from 60 to 0 is also very quick thanks to a higher spec braking system compared to a 400 or 650. There are only 3 600cc Supersport motorcycles that you can buy brand new in the US now. If you start looking at used ones, your options increase to 5. The most obvious thing these motorcycles lack is comfort and torque. And if ridden the way they're supposed to be, they lack fuel efficiency and range as well. Ideally, you need premium fuel because of their high compression engines. They do cost a lot more than a 650, and because they have high performance parts, when they have to be replaced, they typically cost a lot more. So generally speaking, maintenance does cost more. Insurance cost is also significantly more than a 300 or a 650. In fact, my XSR 900 has a lower insurance premium than my ZXXR because insurance companies have gotten smarter about which motorcycles are riskier than others, and they know it's not just the CCs. A unique thing about this segment of motorcycles is that manufacturers do not make a cruiser or a naked using that engine. And that is also the reason why this segment is becoming less and less viable for manufacturers to keep making. But what if you wanted this amount of power delivered in a more usable way for street riding? Do you have that option? Yes, you do. This XSR 900 that I've been riding all day is my road bike. And it is one of the several motorcycles in the 750 to 900cc segment that makes similar power as a 600, but the power delivery, torque curve, and ergonomics are more road oriented than track focused. Let me show you what it can do. That 0 to 60 was slower than I expected, but bear in mind, these times are intended to demonstrate the relative acceleration of different segments of motorcycles in the hands of an average rider like myself. The official times are actually a lot faster. It is one of the lightest in the 750 to 900cc segment, and the seat height is comparable to most 650s. The cost of buying one and maintenance is typically comparable to a 600, and in my experience, so is the fuel efficiency, even though it is a bigger engine. The only thing that is cheaper than a 600 is insurance, as I mentioned earlier. And because of a triple cylinder engine, this one has a great balance of power and torque right from the get-go. You can get this engine in a modern naked, a modern tourer, and rumor has it soon in a sports avatar as well. I have made a comparison video of retro styled motorcycles that make similar power, but the engine sizes vary from 900cc all the way to 1200cc. That is also linked in the description. But can you start on a 900cc motorcycle, especially if you already have some dirt bike riding experience? I will share my opinion at the end of the video once I have demonstrated a 1000cc sport bike, but let me first talk about an interesting style of motorcycles which completely defy the displacement to acceleration conventions that we have seen so far in this video. Cruisers. I have actually made a dedicated video comparing 8 different cruisers ranging from 500cc all the way to 1000cc's. Yes, there is a cruiser that has a 1000cc engine, but the way it makes and delivers power and torque, it might actually work for a rider who has ridden some sort of a dirt bike or a scooter before and can keep their throttle hand in check. The best thing about cruisers is that they are so low by design that they work for short riders. But because you have so much choice in ergonomics, they also work for tall riders. So watch that video if cruisers interest you. Now for the bike that I'm most excited to ride, and it's definitely worth another 1-hour ride to my buddy who has graciously accepted my request to let me ride it. This is a 2019 GSXR 1000R, which has an inline 4-cylinder engine that makes 199 horsepower, 87 foot-pounds of torque, and weighs only 443 pounds. The seat height is comparable to a 600 at 32.5 inches. And here's a demonstration of the brutal power of a 1000cc inline 4 engine. That 0 to 60 is faster than all the other bikes I rode today. If you stay on the throttle a few more seconds, 100 miles an hour comes up like it's nothing. The scary part is that 100 miles an hour doesn't even feel fast on a 1000cc sport bike. This thing stops on a dime, and this monster of a machine cost $18,000 in the US at the time of making this video. Like a 600, inline 4 1000s also have a peaky character in their power delivery, but even at mid-range revs like 6,000 to 8,000 RPMs, they're making more power than all the other motorcycles. They're meant for aggressive riding, ideally at a racetrack, so they're not the most comfortable for riding in a straight line on the highway. The cost of maintenance is usually the highest among all the segments I covered today, and so is the insurance. Fuel efficiency on these things is a joke, and they need premium fuel only. So more expensive fuel runs out way faster. Anyway, before I share my personal humble opinion about how to pick your first motorcycle, if you appreciate all the thought, work, and the risks I took to put this video together, please support me by using the affiliate links below or the super thanks button and help me keep the channel going. Now, I strongly believe that people should have the freedom to choose which motorcycle do they want to start with. Essentially, your choices are between sports, naked, tourers, and cruisers. There are other variations that exist within them like dual sports, supermoto, scramblers, bobbers, etc. There's a great video by Revzilla that I would highly recommend watching. And you have the choice of different engine sizes across those different types of bikes. But what you really need to consider is how these motorcycles compare in terms of acceleration, handling, comfort, and cost. Once you have a sense of that, how all that fits your mindset is of utmost importance. Do you have the patience to grow into the bike, to learn its behavior before you start giving it the beans? You would be the best judge of that, so consider that before getting into this awesome but risky sport. And even though I am tempted to recommend a beginner bike, I will keep my word to not preach. But I will link a playlist of motorcycle comparison videos that I would have considered before I got my first motorcycle. If you have questions, comment below and I will answer. Massive shout out to all of my friends who trusted me riding their beloved motorcycles for this video. This is Faraz, helping the rider community one video at a time.